Okay, we're gonna start with Kirby and the Amazing Mirror here in just a second, everybody, but I wanted to welcome you all back to the stream and remind you that we are only about $100 away from reaching our goal. So if you've received at least, I don't know, a movie's worth of entertainment out of the stream this weekend, would you please consider donating a movie's worth of
I do believe he has
mission.
switched over. It's been a little bit. Whenever you're ready, we can count down.
Yeah, actually, hold on a second.
Ooh.
Can you turn Nox's volume way up, please?
Oh. Am I quiet?
You are.
Alright, it's at 200% now.
I'm at max volume.
Yes.
That sounds way better.
Okay.
Actually, Swordsmankirby, can you try talking too?
Hello, hello, hello.
Can you turn your own volume way up too?
I could turn everything else down a little bit.
That might help.
Sure.
Alright. How's that?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. It's live test.
Yeah.
Testing.
Yeah, this sounds good. Alright, whenever you're ready.
Alright.
Do you want to count down?
Just delete a file. Alright, I'll count down. Am I ready to go?
Yep.
Just gotta reset for good measure. In 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so this is Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. It's a Metroidvania game. And so there's this big, great labyrinth that you can navigate through. This is just like a little bit of a tutorial level, and one of the main gimmicks of this game is multiplayer, so the other Kirby's AIs are supposed to help you out paying that switch, but if I time it just right, I can just go through it by myself. Alright, first try there. So, that's the mix. If you saw my Kirby's Adventure run earlier, a lot of Kirby games start with the mix. So in this case, I wanted to get Wheel. And as with most Kirby games, mixes are usually a 4-frame input and involves swallowing 2 enemies that give you abilities. So in that case, there's like a angel enemy and a sword enemy, and I combine them and give you this mix wheel. And depending on which 2 enemies you inhale, the mix wheel starts in a different spot. And so the timing for that, even though it looks kind of random, is always the same. Alright, so the definition for 100%. Oops. Okay, I messed up already. Alright, so the definition for 100% is visiting all the rooms, and also opening all the chests and getting all the shortcuts. Alright, let's try this again. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, I opened it. Okay. I did go the right way. So, there are a lot of different forks. Too busy commentating. There are a lot of different forks, and a lot of the routing in this is just pretty much how to divide up the run so that you visit each of the rooms and get all the treasure chests. Alright, so after that little mistake, found it here. And the game is divided into 9 different areas. This one's called Rainbow Route, and the one we're going into next is called Moonlight Mansion, and it's going to feature the first boss. And so there are 8 different bosses, one for each of the ones not called Rainbow. Sorry, one of each area not called Rainbow Route. So, coming up here is mini boss Mr. Frosty, or as it was mistranslated, Mr. Flosty with an L. And basically I can just throw a double start and finish off the rest of it with Wheel. So what that big button unlocks is all these shortcuts. In the hub world, which you saw me reset back to, there are a lot of different doors that will eventually become available, and that brings you straight to different parts of the world, of the big labyrinth. In 80%, it's sort of cleverly choosing which ones you want to unlock, but in 100% we need to get all the big ones, and we're going to be making extensive use of those. So in the story, like, Kirby's split into like 4 little Kirbys, 4 mini Kirbys, and they have a weaker inhaling ability. So for those big enemies like that golem I just inhaled, you have to sort of wait for Kirby to charge up his inhale. So it takes a little bit of time before you're actually able to inhale it. So this is the first boss with Woods, he's done. Stone, you can get, it's already a really strong attack, and you can actually just get multiple hits off with one application, so that fight goes really quickly. I should talk a little bit about wheel movement in this game. This game looks kind of similar to Nightmare in Dreamland. It shares a lot of the same sprites, but the way that a lot of the abilities work is completely different. So for example, Wheel has a lot better mobility in this game, and it's actually going to be the main ability that we use throughout this run.
Can I get a donation real quick?
Yeah.
We got a $4.58 donation from August, who says, let's round this off a bit, which leaves us with $100 exactly left in order to hit our donation total for the marathon. That's our goal. $100 more. Become the bestest friend. Donate $100.
So the run is divided into what we call different segments, and a segment starts at the home hub room and ends when you go back to it. So in this one right here, sort of just going around, unlocking different areas. And exactly how, there are a couple options for going back to the home world. The most common of which is to use your phone to call home. The phone can do something else, which is to call your Kirby buddy, and we'll see that a little bit later for getting certain chests. You can also reset. So resetting, you're going to lose your ability. So in cases where you don't want to keep you don't need to keep your ability, you can reset, and that's about a second faster than calling home. And another thing you could do is just simply beat a boss, and that'll come in handy once. And you can also just simply go back through a door into the home room. In this case right here, I'm going to phone home because at this wheel, this room, which turns out to be a dead end, there's a wheel enemy, and I like to keep it, so I'm just going to grab it and then phone home. Sparky gave me good luck. Just immediately jumped down. Sometimes he just sort of like taunts you at the side of that ledge over there and not jump down or do anything. And a lot of these switches come in pairs, so whenever possible I want to unlock them both at once. Alright, so this is a bit of a longer segment, and it's going to lead us to our second boss.
We got a $30.31 donation from Fola Lizards, who says, who's gonna do it? Thank you, Fola.
So that also means that the next person to donate $69.69 exactly will meet the goal for JRTA4. How epic would that be?
This is your chance, everyone.
So that enemy blocking the door is called Mira. I believe it's spelled like Dave Mira. And what it does is that okay, so it's blocking the door, but if you approach it too quickly, it'll disappear. And what too quickly means, it's kind of unintuitive. Hold on a second. So for example, I just ran straight into it with wheel. But if I were running before I started the wheel, that would count as moving too fast. But if I stood still and started the wheel, that's perfectly fine. But if it disappears, you need to reset the room entirely just for it to come back so you can hit it again. So this is Kara Castle. It's a pretty big castle. We're going to come back to it a few times. Drop down here for a chest. And so a lot of rooms are divided into like multiple like disjoint parts, and you only need to visit one of them to count as entering that.
Let me be the first to say thank you to Checkers and the Dopefish, who at the same time, both of the events on Streamlabs say now, or 1 minute ago, donated $69.69 at the same time. Checkers says, with love, Mario Party 2, and the Dopefish says, trust friend of the stream, hashtag Mario Party 2.
Truest friend of the stream?
Trust.
Oh, trust friend.
Trust.
Okay.
So who gets credit for it?
My trust friend of the stream.
Trust friend of the stream?
Alright, so I was kind of worried this would happen. We had 2 donations at the same time, so we went over the goal. I'm gonna look into this, see what we can do about this. But what I've done in the meantime, first of all, congratulations everybody, we hit the goal, we did it.
Yes, thank you everyone.
I would yell right now, but I don't want to be obnoxious.
Don't wake your roommate up, I know.
No, he's watching too. You are all the truest friends of the stream, that's for sure.
Some may say you're the trust friends of the stream too.
Oh, there was a woo. There was
I heard
woo
it.
from
That was
upstairs.
nice. Yes.
Okay. Woo. So what's happening now for donations? I'm just going to explain really quick and then get out of your way. We are having future donations go to Doctors Without Borders. So I've already set that up. The remainder of the donations for the marathon, you'll still be entered to win the prizes if you meet the minimum prize requirements. The rest of the money, though, will be going to Doctors Without Borders. And unlike the donations up till this point, if you donate now, it's tax deductible since it's a charity and not a fundraiser. So keep that in mind. There's still a couple prizes to be given away. And I'll look into seeing what I can do about this double donation at the end here.
So this is Boxy, it's corner camping. Have some bad words to say about Boxy. I can't say on stream. But luckily, that fight went pretty quickly. Alright, so I got another mix there. That mix is actually quite complicated to set up. So it was used, I think, like even in the earliest tool-assisted spear in this game. Back from like 2007 or like 2009 or something like that. But it was only until I want to say 2015 that someone went for it in a real-time run. The UFO allows us to break that bomb block, which otherwise we'd have to go all the way around the break. And it's first done by Yoshi in 8%, and it's actually helpful. Like, there are a couple ways of breaking that bomb block. UFO seems to be the most convenient way of doing it. You can also do it with sword. If you've seen the Amazing Mirror co-op run from SGQ16, we used one person did a final cutter off of the other person to break that bomb block. But the issue with that in a 100% run is that I picked up a chest right after it, and it contained a cherry. And normally, if you call your Kirby friends, they'll bring you food and they'll kiss you. I think it's actually called a officially called kissing. And it causes you to sort of just stop in place for a little while. This is the one use of the cutter in this run. Okay, be a little bit careful. Sometimes you can just tumble off of a slope and die. Like, like you just lose complete control and you just die. So luckily it didn't happen. Now I'm gonna get stone here. Like you saw for the Wispy Woods rock clone thing. King Golem. Stone is really effective for bosses. So I'm gonna try to keep it here. The problem is that if you take damage at all underwater, you instantly lose it. Pretty much. You can't inhale stuff underwater, so it's pretty much impossible to get back. And that's the only place to get stone. So luckily I was able to keep it all the way to the boss. So that was Goblin. Right. So in the previous boss, Megatitan, if you saw, it didn't reset and let Kirby dance. That's because I ended that fight with Wheel. But if I reset, it actually saves. If I didn't need to get Wheel or anything like that, it would save 3 to 4 seconds depending on where exactly you're using it. So it's pretty significant. You do that for 7 of the 8 bosses, so that's like 20-something seconds saved already. So this is Missile. Missile is a hard-to-control ability. It looks like you're just moving in 8 directions, but actually it's a little more complicated than that. Like, you can't just freely turn whenever you want. Okay. Be a little bit careful here and try to keep it. The best way of moving with Missile, to have it avoid like drifting sideways, is to make only 45-degree turns. But I'm doing something a little bit different. Oh, dang it, missed the cycle here. Where I stop it by holding the opposite direction and then doing a 90-degree turn. And it's a little bit slower, but for me it just works a lot better. And maybe like knowing about that was bad for me because I haven't learned the right way of moving with Missile. The person who told me that was a runner named Regiment, who, between the years of like, I want to say 2013 and 2015, did a lot of work on routing this category specifically. So shout out to him for putting in a lot of work in this route. Here's a little bit of a puzzle, I guess. Which ability do you take? I guess the hint here, if this is your second time, Frosty is weak to fire. And with fire you can aim it sort of diagonally. And that allows you to hit that switch in order to get that chest. With chests, like resetting is actually like even more effective because you can reset it like the moment you open it. Right, this Peppermint Palace, we're done with that. In reality, we're actually going to take it backward. Anyways, what I was saying about the chest is that it takes like a second to open the chest for Kirby to move again, plus you save a second from calling home, so really for those chests it's really advantageous. Yeah, so here's the back door to the house. So, like the entrance of Peppermint Palace, you'll see me a few times go in and out of a door, because all that matters is that I enter the room, and if I don't need to do anything else in there, like there's no chests or anything, I can just freely leave. And even though there's a permanent flag for doors, like I think it shines a little bit brighter if you haven't been to it. or something like that. They're not tracked in the percentage counter, thankfully. Because otherwise it'd be a real pain in the ass to go through all the doors. This is a recent route change. I don't even know if it's kind of hard to like figure out whether or not it was faster, but I just liked using wheel here instead of the old route which used missile. So we're gonna take that shortcut we just opened up. Come on, and do this section again. This time we're gonna take this ladder up here. Okay, so I got pretty lucky there, and was able to get through that without taking damage. Now I hit another dead end, so we're gonna fall. What's really at the end of these dead ends are these like bowl game type things where you can play a little bit of a mini game that allows you to get 1-ups and like extra health and stuff like that. But that doesn't count as an extra room, so we don't have to actually visit it. I find it kind of funny how in this game, where mini bosses that you don't really need to fight, you can just like leave. For example, I just like drove right past both those mini bosses in the Peppermint Palace. This is UFO. I'm gonna do 2 fully charged shots and then 8. So UFO isn't nearly, well actually you've already seen UFO, but UFO isn't nearly as powerful as it is in Adventure, the previous game that I ran on Friday. But at the same time, if you try to enter the homeworld with it, it disappears, as if like some kind of reference, I guess, to Adventure. Aw, dang. Okay, never mind. Try it. Missed the mix. That's okay. I missed the mix. It's the first ability. I was trying to get hammer. Let's back it up with stone. But the mix wheel actually makes more than 1 revolution through all the different abilities. So it actually, hammer appears twice, and I tried to get it the second time and messed up because I don't remember the actual order of the mix wheel. But unlike Kirby's Adventure or Nightmare and Dreamland, you cannot buffer the first ability, so it actually has to be timed out just like all the other ones. But luckily they're backups. So I'm gonna get Parasol here. The beginning of the swinging animation is a little bit faster than running, so I want to do that and then cancel it by face planting on the ground, getting out of the Parasol. This is there's like a mini boss or a boss like this in a lot of Kirby games. It's like 2 rows of stuff. It's kind of like paint roller from Adventure and Nightmare Dreamland. Luckily, I got pretty good luck. All I have to do is attack it with Parasol, but sometimes, a lot of times actually, Wiz will just run into you and just waste a lot of time. I'm pretty bad at this part here. Nope, just kidding. So what's interesting about this part right here, in my opinion, is that it actually goes in the reverse direction of what you do in 80%. So to me, I started this game running 80%, and it looked really weird going through this room backwards. So that one chest is the only one in the game that gives you invincibility candy, but it's not really useful for anything. Normally your running speed is actually a little bit faster with candy, but since I have wheel, it's not affected at all. Alright, so right here, I've got two things in my mouth, and as he moves to the right, the double star is actually going to hit twice, allowing me to get a really good kill on that boss. Oops. There's a candy to the left there, but try it out, it turns out to be a little bit slower, because, once again, there's a wheel enemy right here. Alright, so a little bit about wheel mechanics. You can jump while you're in the wheel animation, and what's also helpful is this wheel jump thing like that. And also you can turn around very quickly, so all those are very much unlike Nightmare in Dreamland. Also Nightmare in Dreamland, the wheel slows down pretty much completely to a stop in air. Alright, so once again I'm going to combine for a double star right here. And what's happening a lot with a lot of runners is that okay, you got two enemies, same strat there with hitting twice. You get two enemies, but sometimes it just gives you like a single star's worth of damage, and people didn't understand why that was happening. But it turns out if you just inhale two things at the same time, like it goes into your mouth at the exact same time, then the game will think it's just one thing that you inhaled. So that would waste a lot of time, because then you'd be without a power-up trying to defeat that mini-boss. There's some cool things you can do with Fighter, like for example this dash kick, roundhouse kick thing on him.
It's like a flurry, but he moves.
Yeah. It's a little bit faster running, but I don't like it. What is even next? Oh yeah. I'm gonna open this chest before I forget to do so. So this is just like the second segment, right beginning. Come in here, grab wheel, go through this area right here. Except this time I'm gonna go to the right. And this is the start of a long group of segments that can vary a lot due to luck, and it's also a pretty challenging segment because you need to keep one certain ability throughout the entire time. Like 6 different segments, and it lasts like, I want to say 12 to 15 minutes. Alright, so this is Master Hand. Oh, I immediately got grabbed. And unlike most mini-bosses, you can't actually get hurt by a Master Hand unless he's doing an attack. What the heck? This is an extraordinarily bad fight. Right, so, the ability that you get from Master Hand is Smash. And it gives you a lot of different moves from Kirby's moveset from Melee. And in fact, the German version of this game, like, the ability is actually called SSVN. Right, so Smash is useful. What the heck? Smash is useful for cutting, so the final cutter will cut string, which is very useful. And also, there's like a stone ability, which I think is significantly worse than the regular stone ability. And also stuff like hammer and like punches, spinning attack. That spinning attack is actually really useful for taking out enemies, especially those that I did it incorrectly earlier, but those that steal your ability. Alright, so this is a big sequence right here. By making a screen shake with Final Cutter, you can move this block. But the game developers knew that, and it actually moves the wrong direction that you want to go in. But eventually it'll cover it up and you can't go through it, but if you jump and like turn around, your hitbox like becomes smaller, So if you jump and turn around at just the right time, where the gap is like just right, you can go through that. And the intended way of doing that is to call your Kirby friends. But a lot of times they really don't help. For example, they'll just be standing in front of where you want to move the block. Or they'll have an ability. Okay, so they have an ability, they try to inhale it, or they try to start inhaling it, so they get rid of their ability, but then the star just like goes back into the mountain, and it just wastes a ton of time. And it's very rare to actually get that to work.
That sounds real goofy.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like, I think I've gotten it correctly once with just one player. Alright, this is a pretty challenging segment here. Olive Ocean Smash segment.
Can I just give a quick update?
Yep.
Okay, so I have confirmed that we are now transferring donations to Doctors Without Borders, so you guys are free to continue donating if you'd like to enter to win the prizes and things like that. In addition, if anybody knows where the Dope Fish is, I need to talk to him because his donation was one of them that went through before we made the transfer. So as much as I would like to accept his charity, I'd rather that happen on my own stream and not here. So what I'm trying to say is we'd like to refund you that donation or at least give you a chance to put it towards DWB instead, because the extra money that we get is just going to go to the HDQ charity. So let me know in any case if you're around. If not, I'm going to try to find you anyway on the internet. So thank you.
Thank you. I do want to get in real quick. Hod Noman did donate $30.31 a little bit ago and says, "Love me some Kirby. Used shades. Looking forward to some code vote. Used smart. Hate unrounded numbers. Dan's game."
Okay.
Thank you, Hod Noman.
Alright, so the difficulty in the Olive Ocean segment is that the game is trying to get you to lose whatever ability you have, so that you would hit that pound switch and get that chest the normal way, which is to fight Bonkers, which gives you the hammer ability. But by not taking damage at all during that entire segment, alright, that was a quick fight. It's 3 hammers.
Nice.
By not taking damage, you can keep smash and just break the block without having to fight the mini blocks. Be careful here. So the spinning attack is actually really useful for getting rid of enemies in your way. Like I said, especially the ones that steal your ability. This is a switch that goes to Smash Ruins. I guess that's technically the end of the segment because I went through a door back to the homeworld. So far, I still have the Smash ability. That's good. There are these pretty consistent backup mixes that you can do. Well, really just one, but there are also just a bunch of backup options in general for all of these different parts. When I was first learning the game, I didn't know any of them, so I just like keep going back and like finding Master Hand and beating him, which was a huge waste of time. It would have been better if I just thought a little bit more carefully about how to do backups. The main advantage is that you can both break, use like a hammer type ability and a cutting type ability at the same time. And it's especially useful later on in this segment right here because the backups are really slow. The enemies that you need are really far apart. Secret entrance here through this waterfall. So that enemy I just killed right there with the spinning attack is, I want to say it's called Droppy, and it steals your ability, and it transforms into whatever enemy holds that ability. There isn't really one for Smash, so it just turns into this thing that runs really fast. And the problem is that in that room, there's like a big pit that it would just run into, so it's really important to kill that enemy before it steals your ability. Here's a string. Nice. Alright, this is Fan, extremely dumb mini boss. Oh dang.
But he's so cute.
So deadly. Cute but deadly. Like, he dances around a lot. If you get grabbed by him, it's like a super long animation. So luckily I didn't take any damage at all during the fight. I go in and out of this door. Like that part earlier in Peppermint Palace where I was using wheel to get through all the chests. The disadvantage of doing that is this slow water section right here, just to grab this chest. Normally there's like another like sequence break type thing where you can use ice to hit a bomb block that's out of reach. But not sure which is faster, but they're roughly the same speed, but I just like this way a lot better. This feels more consistent. This game, I don't know, tries to trick you a lot. The idea here is that there are all these like cutter enemies that you could use to break these bomb blocks, but some of them, like if you're not careful, the cutter will fly past you and behind you and hit another bomb block that blocks your progress. So something I like doing that like no one else likes doing, and it's probably slower, is I like to cancel my slides against walls. Especially if you're going into doors and stuff like that. Pretty sure it's slower, but it just feels more comfortable for me. Alright, nice. Pretty good luck here. So, depending on the golem, they can do different attacks. They can try to punch you, or try to jump on you, or try to roll at you. And depending on which attack you actually, which attack they're doing when you nail them, it gives you a different ability. So it can give you stone, fighter, or wheel in this case. So I want a wheel, so luckily he rolled at me immediately. And it's kind of tricky because golems are big enemies, it takes a lot to help in the first place. Okay, so now we're in Candy Constellation, and this has probably been the biggest route change since 2015. Probably earlier than that. But to enter here through Peppermint Palace and keeping wheel. Like previously, you would have Missile here, and you'd get Smash, but now it's turned into wheel and stone, and it turns out to be something like 25 seconds faster to do it this way. What? Alright, so right now I'm in this loop of 6 rooms, and the whole gimmick is really to move... What am I doing? Is to move from right to left, and that solves like all the puzzles. Alright, gotta take that real slow. And so, really the solution is to go from right to left, so that you can hit that bomb block without having the switch fall. But just careful movement, you can do it from the left side. And the cool thing you can do is that you can ride the wheel along the ceiling, but not really that helpful. Oops, that works. This is the music player, you can play songs off of it. Right, so now I move from right to left, and that part is no longer blocked. Right, so now we're in the second half. Second half of Candy Constellation. Candy Constellation is sort of like shaped like a Big Dipper. it's like a loop at the bottom and then like a long sequence of rooms beyond that. First off, I'm going to use stone to break that peg. Move over here. I want to be a little bit careful here. Oops. If I jump into that electric fence, which something that I do if I'm not pressing down, if I slide, I'll instantly lose my ability. Alright, so this is the aforementioned. Oh, what the? fan grabbing animation. Okay, I'm gonna try to call my friends. They don't really have any abilities, but hopefully they can do something. Thank you. That's always like a little bit of an option, is to call your friends. Depending on how long it's been since you reset, they might not have any abilities, so really calling them wouldn't be of any help. Back to Candy Constellation. Using wheel here, there are a lot of places to take damage and lose your ability, or just simply fall off and die. So I'd say like when you first start learning this game, this part is really scary. Yeah, driver, absolutely. Alright, so this is the second half of Candy Constellation. Tricky wheel movement, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I've lost many runs to jumping into that sleeping enemy. Right, so this is sort of a maze-like room. I'm gonna take this fork here. Beam is super weak. And like pretty much like every Kirby game that's like not Superstar. Maybe it's better in later versions. Don't remember. Alright, here's a little bit of a sequence break. I think the right idea is to use burning. Sort of like dash through. But I don't know, it seems like a lot of these, especially these like switch-based puzzles, can be broken simply by Kirby's puff. Alright, so this is the Alright, this is actually the last Candy Constellation segment. So it's really unfortunate that, like in this game, this great labyrinth, instead of being like an interconnected series of rooms, a lot of it is like these like very tree-like parts where instead of like big cycles, you get sort of stuck at leaves and have to reset. And there's nothing really you can do about routing for that kind of stuff. Like for example, Candy Constellation, I think the route's pretty much the same for the second half. Since like ever. This is a lag room, we're just gonna take it a little slowly. There are like a ton of blocks in these Waddle Dews. I don't know how it is that like even this far into the Kirby series where like Beam is still lagging the game. Like Waddle Dew's Beam is still lagging the game a lot. Master Hand again. Like I feel like it's like almost intentional that they're like making the game lag when Waddle Dew's using a beam attack. There's one little puzzle in this segment. Classic adventure style puzzle there. Oh, I can't believe I haven't mentioned this, but one big optimization with Wheel is reducing what's called hit lag. So each time you hit an enemy and it makes that sound, you lose 3 frames. Like Kirby just stands in place for 3 frames. And while 3 frames doesn't really sound like a lot, it really adds up over the course of the run. crash the missile. Yeah, this section is really tricky with missile. Not a fan of this. I do this like not so fast strat here. There are these Shadow Kirbys. They're really nothing. All you do is just like sort of attack them once and they're gone. But sometimes they're helpful. Gave me a good attack. Swallow it. Use stone. Decent fight. So that's Master Hand and Crazy Hand. Another, I guess, like melee reference. Yeah, so different things. Different things that Master Hand or Crazy Hand can do can be inhaled. So, for example, if he does like the finger missile things, you can inhale it for burning. If he does that, like slamming the fist thing, you can swallow that for stone. Stone is really helpful, as you saw for those bosses. The only thing is that Crazy Hand actually takes a little bit longer because Crazy Hand is weak to fire, and I started that fight with fire. Alright, boost through all those guys. Once again, another puzzle with broken puffing. I think the intended thing is to use sword in Final Cut, right? So Rick is actually not my favorite animal friend, despite all my emotes of it. It's just that getting Rick is a very luck-dependent part of Kirby 64, which unfortunately I wasn't able to run for this marathon. But it's just getting hyped for early Rick tries in that game. A little bit about this route. This route was specifically designed for like marathon viewing. The one that I used to set my PB/world record in this category looks very different. It's pretty much just the segments permuted, but with the more like, difficult parts or luck-dependent parts pushed to the beginning. Especially this segment right here, because of this upcoming boss. But this marathon-friendly one, because I'm not going to be resetting, or things are designed to be grouped into the same areas. So, for example, this is like the Cabbage Caverns, like cleanup section, and you saw the Candy Constellations section and stuff like that. And so this is Molly, very luck-dependent boss. The idea is to use throw and hold whatever he throws at you behind you and hit him with that, and that does a ton of damage. Luckily that fight went quite well. Sometimes he's just like up at the ceiling, so it's really hard to really get any good hits out of it. And sometimes he just chooses not to show up at all.
It's a really cool fight. I like that one.
Wait, where am I going now? This is bad. I can't think of where to go. Okay. So, get wheel, go back through here. And it looks like it would be faster to use wheel to grab that chest, as opposed to just grabbing it normally. And that's what was thought for a long time. But it turns out, like, actually it's a little bit slower because you have to stop and start wheel again. So it actually turns out to be, like, a sixth of a second slower to use wheel. Yeah, the Molly fight's really cool, but at the same time it's a very frustrating part when doing runs because it's so luck dependent. Right. Luckily that mix worked out in my favor. Sparkies can jump sort of randomly, so luckily they sort of converged and I was able to nail them both at the same time. And if you let the Sparky mix just run out, like, because it's always the same starting point, it so happens that the last thing in the mix wheel is Missile. It's useful for not only breaking those metal blocks, but for movement over here. Nice. Aw, dang it. I don't really need it anymore, so I'm just gonna go without it. It's really not feasible in real time to navigate through these small corridors with with Missile, so it's not worth trying to keep. Plus, I'm gonna get another power here, ideally. What? I'll give that another try. Oh, dang. Whatever. Let's go on for now. Luckily, I have essentially 2 tries with that. It's about Mini. You can't inhale anything, and you sort of run at the same movement speed and like jump height and everything as regular Kirby, but obviously you're smaller, and that allows you to get into certain tracks. You also can't float. That's really another thing that's really different. I'm gonna try this again. Okay, one more try. Alright, got it. So, I want to mix for UFO. Once again, I'm going to try to hit a bomb block that's out of its reach. And I think it's a little bit faster to just go up with UFO instead of floating up. But it hasn't been tested. It's not really that big of a time difference anyways. Yeah, so UFO, so about the starting point in a mix wheel, it depends on just the first enemy that you inhale. But because that, like, the Sparky's jumping around, the Tornado's moving pretty quickly, sometimes you'll inhale them in the wrong order, and then it turns out that, like, UFO is 5th in the mix wheel for one of them, and it's 4th in the mix wheel for the other one. And sometimes it's not even clear which one you inhaled first. What am I doing? Okay, whatever. Oh, I only got one up. I meant to keep wheel here. So one thing that, I'm gonna get stone here, but one thing that Chao Kirby could have dropped is invincibility candy. And it's faster for fighting this bad fire, but oh well. Alright, this is Krakow. And stone is so great for this fight.
Like any Krakow fight, stone on the idiot.
Yeah. So 3 of those like double hit type things will take care of that pretty easily. Oops. I mean, I expect to take damage there anyways. A little bit of a sequence break to hit this. I'm gonna reset. So the real way you're supposed to do is go from the other way around. And I could continue on that room, but it's actually just this part that I've had unlocked. This part is a little bit, like, I think it's pretty tedious. So I'm gonna get the sword here. I'm pretty sure this is not the intended way of doing it. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to use this bomb enemy right here. Or you can hit this switch with the final cutter.
The missile is such a good power-up.
Yeah. I'm getting destroyed by these guys right now. Oh man. Ideally, you just want to go through this entire part without getting hit until that enemy. Don't need missile anymore. Another mix. What am I doing? What? Okay.
It's a mystery. Okay.
I really want to get this mix. So actually, this is another one that you can just wait to the end, which I'm going to do now. But I tried to stop it earlier. Like even though it's the last one and the mix wheel stops there, you can stop it like the moment it appears. But somehow I missed like the 2-second window to do that. Oh, actually, it's not that much. It's like a second. Alright, back up here. Now we're gonna explore a little bit more to the right. Okay, wait for that guy. And this is intended right here to call these Kirby friends and have them just stand right there on the switch while I go through it. Like, the intended way is to use that sword enemy I just killed, but calling the Kirby friends allows me to keep it. And it actually saves like a ton of time. But the problem is that, as you'll see later on in this segment, I drop wheel. And so that means that I need to like pick up wheel for like a different segment later on. Like, when routing this, like the number of segments that you start with wheel has to be like the number of segments you end with wheel. So that number has to be conserved. The reason why I say it's tedious is because I'm going through all these rooms again. Here's Mini, here's the... I'm just gonna take damage right here. Can be a little bit scary. If you take damage as Mini going through those little openings, you instantly die. And so I've lost like a PV pace run once specifically to dying.
Oh, I've actually never seen that happen.
Yeah, it's super, super rare, but I'm not taking any more chances on that. That guy can swipe you out of your missile.
Rude.
Unlike Wheel, you're not like super invincible while using it. And I feel like you weren't actually supposed to be able to control missile to this extent. I was talking to Flyro Stan, he's another speedrunner, but he's played this game a lot casually, and he was surprised that missile is actually like useful for movement.
I've only ever seen speedruns, I've never played it casually, so it just looks really good. I can imagine it's probably a little clunky though.
Yeah, definitely clunky. Like sometimes you like drift sideways and stuff like that. It's weird. Depending on like specific directions that you press.
So
yeah, so this is a sort of extended missile section right here. Another thing about when you exit missile is that you sort of bounce in the opposite direction. So it's actually faster to like completely turn around and then exit missile. The game's really lagging right now. this game is not super well optimized. Like, if you've seen the 4-player, like, SGAQ 2012, I think it was, like, speedrun of that, it is... the game is running at, like, 3 FPS.
It is slow.
And so, this kind of lag happens in 1-player as well, especially, like, when interacting with the other Kirbys. And so something like screen transitions will slow down. And so that's just like one benefit of doing these like resets. Not only do they save time, just like, but they also reset the game so it doesn't lag. Like for example, if you stay on the title screen for too long, the game will just start lagging for no reason. Like when you start. Ooh, I want that missile. No. Okay, whatever. Not a big deal. Kissed.
Nice.
The enemy's pretty bad. It's like when you're over a pit. So
yeah,
Kirby will just be like
doesn't it?
wiping a kiss off his face while he's falling into his death.
The ultimate sacrifice.
Thanks, Ron. So I believe that missile, I noticed in the task that, for that falling section right there, that's like another kind of shortcut. They don't go into missile, so my guess is that they... Hold on a sec. Nice. That they don't, that falling and missile downward speed is like the same. And that the reason why it loses time is because it needs like the animation for entering this. That mix just right there. Let's get everyone out of the way. It's actually not the last ability, but the second to last ability. And even though there's like a massive time window for like hitting that kind of mix, the mix wheel is going so slowly, and yet somehow it feels harder than regular mixes a lot of the times. Oh yeah, another nice thing about resetting is get your health back. Running on low health, but shouldn't be a big deal at all. There's actually quite a bit of food to pick up along the way. I think there, I already got 2 health back. Alright, so now that's the last switch in the game. And it unlocks this thing in the homeroom. It gives you access to all the abilities in the game. Like I was saying about UFO, if you enter the homeroom with UFO, it disappears. Even though it's not like super overpowered. So actually the only thing that's missing from that room is UFO. It doesn't count as an extra room, it counts as the same room as the homeroom, so I don't need to go into it. Alright, let me not forget this. I swear I have nightmares about missing that chest. Getting a 99% run. This is the outside portion of Radish. I want to be really careful not to lose wheel here. And those Scarfies can really easily do that. No idea what really is the puzzle there. Like, you can just easily deboost through that whole thing. But I'm guessing you're supposed to use like wheel or burning or something like that.
I think the puzzle is to not die. You should in that room.
just check the map real quick. Okay, good.
Just in case.
I wish it were like a little bit easier to quickly scan the whole map, but alas.
It's a GBA game. I
Yeah.
mean, only so much you can do.
Right. So we're actually going to use this shortcut. This, unlike the switches in the homeroom, aren't as helpful, but luckily we can use that one just to get straight back here. Like the other one, we just entered and exited. So you still need to go through it to get 100%. Because that falling room does count as a separate room. Alright, here's another Master Hand fight. Alright, that was pretty good. The Master Hand fights are a little bit different. Like the one in Candy Constellation, Master Hand is actually in the air. Like higher up in the air, so I'm not able to do a lot of stuff like turn around on the ground and stuff like that. But that one's probably the easiest one of all Master Hand fights that you can do. This room nicely showcases jumping off of platforms as opposed to just floating up the entire way. Nope. Alright, whatever. That kind of worked. But the whole point is I wanted to move that metal block while keeping the wheel going. Alright. Watch out, Kirby got owned. He immediately appeared from the bushes and died. Alright, so this is somebody. I don't know who this is. The game doesn't give me a name, so I'll never know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a new character to the series, I think.
Yeah, never seen this guy before. So I get a little bit more on like Meta Knight manipulation and stuff like that. But in that fight, the sword ability, it's actually better to do the like normal slashes instead of doing like the combo slashes and stuff like that. Just like big slashes repeatedly. But another useful thing is like the down stab, or not down stab, like the sliding on the. Oops. Okay, this is bad. I can't even. To sort of slide into him with the sword, and that usually triggers this like his like Meta Knight's down stab animation. I'm not even close. Normally, if you do it right, you can keep the candy all the way through that last enemy. But another thing that's useful is Final Cutter. Meta Knight has a lot more trouble blocking the Final Cutter. And like the fight adventure and Nightmare in Dreamland, Meta Knight can just block attacks randomly, and it's really annoying. The annoying thing about this Meta Knight fight, as opposed to the Adventure / Nightmare in Dreamland one, is that when you take damage in those games, you don't lose your ability because it's sort of like a scripted fight. And I don't know how to describe it, but you don't lose it because you have to defeat him with sword. But in this one, sword is just one of many options. Last part through Carrot Castle. When designing this route, like Carrot Castle is the one thing that I couldn't avoid splitting up into many sections. Alright, one last check for getting this chest right here. Good. It's unfortunate that it's split up into 3 very disjoint parts. Like one right at the beginning and then one right at the end. This time we're going to take the middle path. So I'm going to call it Kirby Fen for this. There's a little bit of luck that goes into this, not just like their movement, but sometimes like you could get Kirbys with UFOs, and since all they're programmed to do is just slide. So the first time I called them previously, they stood on a switch, and they're actually programmed to do that. Normally they just like dance around. But in that one, they're programmed to slide. And if you're UFO Kirby, you can't slide. So pretty much you're just like sitting there wiggling in front of the bomb block and not doing anything. But other times, like for example, you can get a sword and they'll slide and the sword hitbox will hit the bomb block earlier. Lots of stuff that can happen there. So I don't have an ability, but I'm going to phone home anyways. And the reason is because I called the Kirbys so that they're away from this home screen. Actually, I made a mistake. I'm gonna reset right here. So actually they're back now. But I'll call them later. Fortunate time loss right there. I've got stone, which is once again a great ability for bosses. You need to be careful not to lose my ability. Like if you hit the spikes, it's instantly gone. Whoops. Shoot. No! Alright, I'll call them here. So how did I not have to reset and do that thing where I enter the final boss segment? Well, what happens is I have stone, have the Kirbys called away, and enter this fight. And the reason why I enter it twice... Oh crap. Is because the second time I can skip this like really long 20-something second cutscene. Right, float and do a little bit of a glitch. And I really don't want the Kirby friends here because they're just going to really interfere with these fights. They're not going to do like much damage. They're just going to be mostly in the way. So I got an ability and the Master Sword. I'm going to go the Double Star. And the same strategy here, like using Double Star to hit the boss twice.
Such a cool strategy.
Yeah, yeah, it makes the thing go really fast. Right, doing it again here. One nice thing about this particular iteration is that I have this platform. So in case Darkmind decides to spawn on top, luckily he didn't. Then I'd be able to just jump up and hit him the same way. And the difference between this and like the other mini boss fights is that he'll actually flinch like, backwards, and that's what causes him to take damage twice. In the other ones, they're actually moving away from you to begin with. That's how they get hit twice. But this one, it's actually the boss will flinch backwards once you hit the first time. I could have done that a little bit differently. But if I had fire or ice from one of his attacks, I can hit that switch immediately instead of going around all the way. Sword, no big deal. It's only like 10 seconds. It's pretty rare to actually get an ability out of it. Alright. Once again, same thing. But the difference with this fight is that... Do something please, thank you. Is that he has slightly more health and allows me to get a star out of it. There's purple, blue, and red. And those give you spark, ice, and fire, respectively. Okay, please. Come on. Okay, so
The classic.
yeah. Alright, so the green one, which is the one that gets added to this fight, gives you a mix. And I got UFO off that mix. And the charged attack for UFO is really important here because, okay, there's this eye. And there are things that do a lot of damage, but I need something that hits once for a lot of damage. So the charged UFO attack is perfect for this. Hammer is actually even better, but you need Dark Mind to show up on the ground in order for that to happen. So that was like a pretty much perfect luck fight.
Nice.
Yeah, so what happens is that each time you hit the eye, it'll close for like a couple seconds, so you can't attack during that. So the charged UFO attack is really important here. And also, like the mirrors spawn, and you like crack the mirrors. And doing damage on the mirrors actually does double damage. And so, like a lot of Kirby games ends with like a space shooter. And if you're like low on health, you can call the Kirby friends here for this fight. Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm gonna intentionally lag the game while adding to my score on the bottom right. Like you can call the other Kirby friends, but typically speaking, they'll lag this fight down a lot and not really do much damage. It's really mostly if you're like super low on health. It might be a good idea to call the friends. Okay, I'm gonna be losing even more time. Alright. Alright, good. Yeah, the score counter thing is like another melee reference. And it'd actually be faster for me to shoot it now to try to get it to blow up quicker, but I like my score, so I'm gonna keep it. Alright, so now like Kirby saved the mirror world, now he's going back home. Alright, time should be coming up soon if I got 100%. Alright, time.
Nice.
I have just barely under 116, 115.59.
Alright.
It's a good one.
Thanks.
GG.
Nice run.
Agreed. That was a very, very fun run to watch. I really like a lot of the strats in that game. They were just a good watch.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you guys are interested, like, you can ask questions in the Kirby Discord. A couple people who have ran this category in particular recently, so there'll be a bunch of people to ask.
Nice.
All right. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next game, which is, I believe, Pocket Bomberman.
Pocket Bomberman with Bomberman?
First of all, though, I just want to thank Swordsmankirby again for the runs, hanging out with us this weekend, and have a good rest of your event here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, no problem. We'll set up for the next game and be right back, everybody.